Interlude Stories After Chapter Discussion. We were going to, buttons. I am Sidehammer, and I will be your host for today. And, wow, this was a heck of a chapter for me. And, I mean, if you want to just like have a little rundown of everything that happened in this chapter, I mean, that would just take forever. But I did get a slight go ahead to go as long as I wanted. So we may have a long one today. Now, if we want to start with some general impressions, I think Ederon wanted to go first. Hey man, just go for it.
Yes, chapter was okay. I really dig the start, but then it turned a bit into I don't want to say slugfest, but I like the start more than like the rest of the chapter. I really thought I'm getting a detailed story of Ryoka and the Fire Realms even more, and especially some reactions. But we jumped to other storylines. The Lightning Thief one was okay, but I really would have liked to have more of Ryoka's fairy talk. But the implications were kind of awesome about perspection, and that probably the game of fate is just a game of perspections. That's my new theory, and it was quite interesting. Yeah.
There was definitely a lot of just info bombs dropped in this one. It's supposed to be a short chapter, but you should see my notes that I just made for how I was going, and then, God, it took me like an hour just to like put them all together, all the questions and stuff I had. But let's see, Wiggles, general impressions, go.
I definitely enjoyed this chapter. It was very fun just getting all these stories out there. I love to start like Ederon did, but I also love some other parts of the chapter. I love the Lightning Thief section and Risaveri's sock puppets and Heathen's special eyes. Yeah, it was just a fun chapter overall, and it was a nice little interlude. It also sets us up for what I'm assuming is Norman's, pull chapter next time, which should have something to do with the Blood Raiders. Maybe the Blood Feast Raiders will get killed. Maybe, possibly. Hopefully, they'll all die horribly, including Salkus. Possibly. It could happen. Probably won't. But one can hope. But yeah, I really enjoyed this chapter. It was just fun to see all these threads that are presumably going to be gone into more depth by the end of this volume. Especially the new death. Like, I'm very surprised that another death lived, and I want to know where they are. But yeah, that was my thoughts.
Alrighty. Thank you, Mr. Wiggles. Yeah, there's just so many things that happened, on Syncity ship version 34, just all the little things around. We got so many little tidbits of information that just not quite sure if, we'd had that information before, so great. Mr. Europe, tiebreaker, your turn.
I really enjoyed this chapter. Just every part from the Aaron being absolutely humbled to just the really. I thought for once the blood was just really funny. Just all these noble dipshit kids sitting around complaining. Like, at least some of them seem to have like parents that have torture shacks, which, that makes sense. Then the others, like some of the others, just sitting around saying, "My dad's not cool enough, so I go around slaughtering people and burning down towns." Just I found it really funny,
Yeah, I
along
lost.
with the along with the other stuff. I also really enjoyed that Erin was described as a door, because now she's both a hill and a door, and I'm waiting for her to be described as a room full of secrets and like stuff like that, so we can just have a perfect description of her.
Yeah, it's a great observation. I'd actually missed that the door thing. Anand was going on about it, wasn't he? Yash, catch him. It might be your turn.
Hi everybody. Um,
Hello.
so I really like the chapter. And whenever we get chapters like this with like new characters, it happened last chapter too, but I wasn't there for the discussion because stupid grad school. But yeah, like whenever we have new characters, I like to sort of work or backtrack how Pirate came up with their names. Like we have that crazy, oh, this was like probably the worst part of the chapter, but you know how in Roshal there is the Lord of Patterns. What was the class? I don't know, but something to do with that. And his name was Zeron, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe like Pirate saw like a Xerox machine somewhere, and she was like, thought that was a cool name. And then we had like Hire, and I was like, okay, so Dullahans, I don't know how. But they are like a very Japan adjacent culture, and Hire is a very common name. So maybe that's how it's pronounced, and maybe she's going for like a Hire sort of a thing. Like the names, like Moira, right? So I was like, okay, what if it's like Moira? But she watched that Friends episode with the Ambassador Dictyophonus, and which starts with a B. And she just decided to go like, okay, like here's two words that like here's two letters that are like weird. Why don't you put them together? So that was fun. Like, you know, just like going off on this whole tangent where I'm trying to backtrack all the names. That was kind of fun. And I also liked how so we're in the inn. The story is going on. Like downstairs, the story is going on. But we're almost going room by room. We go to Ryoka's room. We see the stuff with Heathen. We go to Namtang's room and we see the stuff with him and Salkis. And like it's like we're going room by room almost. And uh oh, nice. Sorry. Someone on LinkedIn just like gave me some advice on internship search. But yeah, fine. Uh, It was really cool. Like you get to see how the inn has become sort of the epicenter, and I'm sort of worried that the next attack is gonna be on the inn because there was this sort of like, you know, the Chekhov's gun red herring. I don't know what it's the thing where she's foreshadowing with the feast, like the blood feast riding with their feast. It might be the inn because the guy wants to be a bandit king and wants to level up. Yeah, and it's been a quiet chapter. Like it's been a quiet couple of days, and the inn can see a couple of attacks and fighting. Some exciting. So yeah, those were my impressions. I'm expecting an attack on the inn very soon. We have a lot of high level players in the inn right now, and it would be nice to see Moira's skills in action in defense of the inn because she's there.
Sure.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, we've got. I think we've got a blood feast section coming later on. I definitely want to hear your your opinions on that later on. But yeah, good thoughts. Um, Cosmic Chaos says stories past and stories yet to come. It was a fun recap and preview. I agree. It was a little more of that calm before the storm essence. You know, it's another preparatory chapter. Of course, pirates computer exploded, so that was a tragedy. As someone who's has had that happen before, I can sympathize. Let's see here. We have a list of things. Let's see. Maybe we'll go in chronological order. See, the first thing that happened was Aaron and Shastrel, I believe. Go. Copy this. How do I do that special thing with the / paste? Is this how I do it? Anyways, Aaron versus Shastrel. How do you think Shastrel keeps beating Aaron? And what beyond perspective shifting do you think Aaron needs to learn? Do you think Aaron needs to do to learn what Shastrel is trying to teach her? Well, that didn't work. Yeah. So, what's your guys' thoughts on Aaron v. Shastrel, and what do you think she needs to learn to learn this perspective chess thing? Oh, okay, Mr. Wiggles, come on down.
Well, obviously the perspective shifting is the main thing that Shastrel is trying to get her to realize, but I think it somehow connects to how the Fae view fate, basically. How they see what can be, what will be, all of that. I think that is the ultimate goal here, is to try and get Aaron to be able to view fate like the Fae do. How that's going to happen, I don't really know. Maybe it'll be a slower process, or maybe it'll be something like what happened with Ryoka, where she got, she learned a little bit about the wind power from Ivaleth, but at the end of the day, she's had to kind of sort it out herself. So maybe Aaron will get the perspective shifting down, and she'll kind of have to go from there into how she can apply that in different ways, and how she can apply that in chess too.
Yeah, there's the perception of how things could be different, but there's also the implementation of changing it. Somehow, Shastrel was changing what should have happened. It felt like. So like she'd be playing sloppily or to a lower standard that Aaron was, you know, capable of beating, and then 1 second something changed, and then she was like a machine. It's I'm just wondering what that last little push is to being able to change the outcome instead of just seeing it like Ryoka does, Let's see. Mr. Europe says perspective shifting and face stuff is so weird to me in a good way that I have no idea. I'm just gonna smile and nod at whatever pirate decides makes sense. All right. Yash says sort of like to view the determinism in a chaotic system. That's I'm sure that's probably correct. It's a little quantum mechanics to me. Ederon, he then will teach her, and that's how she and the Veltras will make up.
Heffron will teach her, and that's how she and Veltros and Tyrion will make up.
Gotcha. Thedicron says, I'm still wondering how Aaron would react if she did get any amount of ability to see people's fates. She could be manipulative, but she also doesn't like manipulating or ordering her friends around. That's a good point. She's I don't know if she's struggled with her manipulations, but she's definitely been called out on it a few times, and she definitely doesn't like being thought of as manipulative. She just wants to be thought of as helpful. I know that. Alias is a little bigger one. I think it's possible that it's not that Bird had some super insight into how to think. It was that she was hitting It was that she was hinting that for that specific game, Shay thought like Bird. Yeah, that makes sense. Like each game may have been her using a different person's perspective, because for that game, that was the perspective that won. That is a very interesting idea. Like first you think about how to look at something from another person's perspective, then you figure out how to use that perspective in a broad sense. That's fascinating. I really like that idea. That goes almost sort of in the it's really in line with the sort of the Boone thing in the guests, taking from the uh taking aspects from the guests as well. Like this is how Bird sees this game, and this is how Bird wins this game. That's actually really cool. Very thematic. Mystical Pie. It seems like there's some element of completely inhabiting another perspective to see through, like empathy as a fantastical power or something. Yeah, Mystical Pie, yeah, I can see that. And Bleed Soul, your name is almost invisible against the dark mode. She still can see fate and therefore can control the game through future sight. I suppose. I suppose. There have been, different interpretations of how, future sight and whether you can affect certain things like that. Some you can see but can't affect. Others you can see, and because you can see, you can change the observation effect, things like that. Alias said also, like perspective as a skill, is the idea of walking in another person's shoes. But like all other things about the Fae, it's better and more capitalized. And thank you, Bleed Soul. I have to say, I really liked Aaron looking to other people for suggestions. I did enjoy how it's fun. It's different. It's odd to see Aaron so upset, especially over a game. I think it's the first time she's ever, been that upset over not being able to puzzle out, how someone's doing something, and it's actually really interesting to see. It's actually really interesting to see how Aaron's mind was working and how she dissected, uh, the game, and how analytical and intelligent she was at these moments, because we don't always see that. We see silly Aaron pretending to be a bimbo or something, just an airhead or something. So it's really fun. Oh, and seeking out like Bird, and I have to say the tickle fight was adorable, and apparently Antinium antennae are ticklish. My question is, did Leon know? Did Leonette know? And Ederon, go for it.
Yes, I just wanted to say I totally agree with you that it was interesting to see Erin, how she dissected everything, because she has done that before. I can even recall in volume 1 or 2 when she played against Magnolia and dissected just through playing chess, that she was reading her mind just because Aaron was playing chess. When it comes to chess, she's a super brain. She has beaten Charlian's path to victory with chess. She has beaten so many chess skills or so many tactician and other skills that give other people like a lead in chess, but she can't do that with perspective. That's interesting. And it's probably kind of maybe because perspective is not a skill like from the system, but an ability that you can like true magic or something, and she can't just analytic herself around that like a normal skill.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, that moves us right along into our next question, actually,
Oh,
which is, What do you think is going on with Heathen's eyes? And do you think Ryoka's perspective skill, or shift skill, will be something other characters can learn and benefit from going forward? And you can keep going if you like.
That
If you don't have to.
Hefon is the one who learns perspective is kind of perfect. I don't know, Pirate always finds a way to keep characters out of being irrelevant. I don't know how to describe it. Just this scene that when he was like, my little brother is probably the main character of us too. He is just always in the forefront, and now some a little bit of introverted kid learns this perspective skill and becomes like, is this gonna be important later on, I guess. And it's I think he was just the perfect kid a perfect person to get this ability.
Yeah, the correct vehicle to bring it to us in the story.
Thank you.
Yeah. What do you think he saw out there? I mean, was there a forest in Liscor at one point, or was he seeing the Vale Forest, or was he seeing the Fey Forest? That was what I was a little confused on.
Maybe the high passes were a forest before there were the high passes?
That's true. I mean, they were raised apparently. Like somebody made the high passes at one point, so it's likely that you know there was a long history there before. And let's see. Thedgron says, I could totally see Ryoka tutoring Hathon on Perspective Sight. It was kind of foreshadowed with her failing to teach Sammy much about it. Yeah, I think that's a good point. Alias says, Ryoka is a rule breaker and the Fae are Fae, but people in Inworld who learn Perspective will get a skill. I'm actually going to bet on that. That's a good point. When the system notices someone doing stuff, they tend to reward it, or they tend to try to find any way to give them something. That's something we kind of was alluded to in the last chapter, actually, with the system kind of rooting anytime anyone gets a level up or something like that, or possible skill up. I'm going to read these first and then let the speakers go. Alias, a level up will give Erin her perspective skill, or she will get it as a learned skill when she learns it, or figuring out will cause the level up when she sleeps, and that will become a skill. That's an interesting possibility. Kel says, in my opinion, he was seeing what the Vale Forest used to be at his height, and or could be again. Oh, yeah, that could definitely be it. That's definitely one of them. And Aderon, I don't think it's going to be a skill. It's true magic. That was my initial impression. But you know what? I'm gonna let some other people chat here. Yash, you're up.
Okay, so I know we're all thinking it, but obviously it's got something to do with the seed, with the dryad seed. And if we do some bit of investigative sneakiness, so the whole chapter, right, regarding the Vale Forest, it's called the Vale Forest Whispers. And I think like the Veltrases, they might have had maybe druids, or they might have had, again, magic people who used old magic to sort of communicate with the great trees and the great, maybe even dryads of the time of the Vale Forest. And if it is a skill, it might, maybe he then gets a skill on how to sort of grow or nurture immortal trees. Might be a thing, because to grow, again, to be able to see Phthia or to be able to see a dryad, you need to have perspective. And I don't think Ryoka has the time, or it's just not in her story arc to be the one to grow a tree. And her, Velta's connection and her connection with Heathen obviously hints at what's going to happen next with the tree. And Heathen being a very big part of it and stuff. And the I mean, we see him touching the wand, and um, it's that which triggers him being able to have this sight, and it's the forest whispering to him that, okay, so this is a child. It was found. I don't know. So the wand was found in Albez, right? I don't know how close Albez is to the Belfast forest. It is to the Vale forest. It might be that some dude some time ago was able to fashion out of a dryad seed, he was able to fashion the wand, and the forest is sort of calling it back home, and he then is going to be the vehicle to do that. Uh, and growth, again, time, space works very differently, right? One might wonder how you grow such a great tree in such a short time, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's about perspective. Like the tree doesn't grow, but what the potential of the tree growing represents, if you have that perspective, can trigger a new defense against, a defense for the people of involved against the larger narrative with the scene walkers and stuff.
Or
On how,
maybe like the seed was always grown in, at least in one perspective. The druid or the
yeah,
dryad had always been there.
yeah, like the diet, it was growing. It was just that people were not able to see it because they didn't have the perspective.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea.
And yeah, and like, yeah, I think this is gonna tie into the whole immortals thing soon enough because Heathen was also the one who was able to see the microfibers on her foot wraps, if you remember. I think this was in like,
I think I do remember something like that happening back when they're hanging out with Pelmias or something like that.
yeah, like back when Ryoka had just come back from Island Amos and she was hanging out with the Welcast people and she was showing the foot wraps and the Feyblade, and he already had the skill to. That's the thing. It might turn into a skill. We don't know. And we know that the system is growing as well. Um, the system is able to pull from, Cassinia, and it might be a skill that he can. It might even be it might even be an inheritance skill because his eyesight is something that's through inheritance. And yeah,
It came from his
I think
mom, right? Didn't it? Or-
it did it. No, it's his
no?
dad's skill, right? It was mentioned.
Oh, yeah. Okay. My mistake. I just misremembered. But actually, I was thinking when he first started going on about I think like because the chapter didn't end with Heathen gaining this skill, I think maybe it's going to end up a little more like true magic. Like maybe the system doesn't know about perspective chess, or something like that. Because I don't know. I sort of because Ryoka is a rule breaker. Like she doesn't have any of the classes that she can read the stuff outside of the system and whatnot. But Heathen is just he's an extraordinary person because of his heritage. But I think if it was going to be a skill, maybe I think Pirate might have would have added it at the end. Eyes of the
You know what?
seer or
It might
something.
just happen that he goes the Ryoka route and rejects skills altogether. We
That
have
would
that
be
one
interesting.
guy in, we have that one guy in Xeris, right, who always tries to not have skills because skills might be something that's preventing people from having perspective
Yeah.
because it's forcing you into a system, into a very landlocked system. So if he rejects skills and if he rejects classes and removes his own classes and being a lord's son and a future lord, he might know of how to do it. He might be able to gain the perspective needed to for him to be responsible for what's to come next with regards to the Dryad.
Yeah. By not taking it, he may become greater than he could have. Mr.
Yeah.
Wiggles, would you like to chime in?
Um, Let me think about what I wanted to say for a second. I got kind of lost.
Sorry, we went on.
I agree with Yash about I that Ryoko won't be the one who like makes the seed grow. It was made pretty clear that growing this seed into a dryad, into a tree, or whatever, isn't isn't something easy to do. It's not something that you can just have happen. And I think the wand basically choosing Heathen, because the wand has not reacted in this way to anyone else. No one else has looked at that wand and had a magical compulsion to pick it up. So the wand basically, the seed in the wand, I think, basically chose Heathen for a reason. Why that is, it might be because of his Veltrosness. It might be because he can see things that other people can't very well. And honestly, I think Heathen is much more suited to this perspective stuff than even Ryoka is. And I think that's part of the reason. So I think that Heathen will be instrumental in turning the wand from wand / seed into something else. I think that's kind of being set up here. Onto what this. Let me find the question. Hold on. I'm trying to. But yeah.
A perspective, and do you think other people will learn it and use it going forward?
Yeah. I don't think anyone else besides Aaron will really get it down. But yeah. Overall, I think that the wand basically chose him as something, as someone who will
that
help
was
it in the future.
That was something I actually completely missed. I didn't realize it was that wand in particular. I just didn't even cross my mind. I mean, now that you both been on about it, I'm like, oh, I'm an idiot and I missed that. But I thought it had something to do actually with the. I thought he had seen like on one of the scrolls that Neri had written, and his eyes hurt because he had read. He was able to read the words that no one else could read. I thought that was what was going on when I first read it. But if it was actually like the wand just like reaching out and say, "Oi, pick me up. You need to do something with me." That's definitely a very important thing that I've overlooked.
Well, so it was definitely a wand that he picked up because, so his gaze. It says in the chapter, he was looking at something on Ryoka's desk, and it was a wand, but it was one that was dark and looked metallic. It was like a piece of a branch, not the smooth and manufactured wands like some mages liked. And then Heathen touches it without knowing what he was doing. He was and it says,
Right.
but had almost been like a compulsion,
Right.
just to
I
touch
think
the wand.
right before that they'd mentioned a wand of light or a light arrow or something, and I think
Yeah.
I had just kind of tuned it out after that. So yeah, that was my bad. Let's see here. I'm sorry. You got more?
Nope, I'm done.
Okay. Blitzo, come on down.
Yes. With regards to perspectives, I think that Ryoka challenging Eren about Tyrion's perspective, that will maybe change Eren's attitude toward other things. Like when she was challenged with Thorin, and she didn't understand him, and now she understood his perspective, and like he wanted to be loved. So I think that will encourage Eren to work harder. I mean, she's working already hard. It's nice to see her like doing this training arc, if you can call it, brewing and stuff. And with regard to Heaton and the wand, I think he will be instrumental to bringing back not only this dryad but many dryads in the Vale Forest. That's pretty much it.
That's a really great point about the perspective on Tyrion. With the perspective shift, that's just like one of those little connections I completely missed. And now that you said it, I'm like, wow, yeah, that's really deep, and that's the way to go. That's really cool. Yeah, the perspective thing. I was just wondering. I don't know. Y'all seen Dragon Ball, but it seems like everyone learns a certain move, and then the entire cast, or one person learns a certain move, and then the entire cast kind of learns it, and then it's just like the standard repertoire. I was wondering if like the entire inn were going to have the ability to, shift perspective and see things after a while. But mayhap that's not the way this is going to go. Alias says a level up will give. Oh, I already read that. My bad. S. Hellas says, when Aaron was in the Deadlands in Israel, she saw the land as a marsh. Did she also see it as a forest? My understanding was, she was seeing everything in different ages, before the high passes, maybe even before the harpies. Could this vision be similar? That's a good point. She definitely did see a lot of different things when she was flying over Liscor at that time, didn't she? Yeah, that's a good point. Dark Time Duck says maybe the true form of the forest is actually hidden, and the real name is actually the Veil Forest. Huh. A little bit of alliteration there. Little punnage. Appreciate it. Mystical Pie says, my impression was that whatever perspective Ethan was seeing was directly connected to the Dryad Seed, either in the past when it was created or the future where it comes alive. That is an interesting point of view too. Showing of the potential or what once was. That's actually really neat. Then Alias says, did other people have the same reading as me, that he then picked up the wand and tried to set it back down, but the wand vanished? It's no longer in Ryoka's room. He then actually carried it off to some strange way. You know what? I was so mistaken about that reading earlier that I'm not sure. But Mystical Pie says I did. I was wondering if I was going crazy. Did anyone else pick that up? You can jump in if you like, or okay. Do not read this aloud. Okay. Does anybody have anything else they would like to say? Oh, yep. Xander says maybe Heathen now has the Dryad Seed in him for later use. Oh, wait, which one? Okay, do read aloud. Okay, here we go. Okay. Elias says, okay, now I want Heathen to reject skills and classes because of Ryoka's influence. That would be delicious. Delicious potential good drama between Ryoka and Tyrion, because Tyrion's first instinct will be that this is not a good thing, and that his son is making a terrible mistake as a lord, and make Ryoka more inadvertently responsible for his future as the one who influenced that decision. That is true, and I really enjoy that idea. Wiggles is confused. Yash says no allowed. I'm sorry I didn't read it right. Anyways, Bleach Soul says shifting perspectives will help Aaron to better understand the rooms of the Garden of Sanctuary. That would be interesting. She has so many rooms already. I mean, now we're just going to go kaleidoscope on it? That's going to be crazy. Jesus. And Kel says the Order of Solstice, aka Solstice Knights, their whole thing will be perspective shifts. Mersha forsooth. I like that. That is very cool. Alrighty. Speaking of the Order and the Gardens, how about we talk about one of the prior owners of the garden, a Mr. Cormalex. And what are your thoughts on learning that the Infernal Court ruled rear before the Blighted Kingdom? How did Cormalex, the last archfiend apparently, see to it that the Lucifan Empire was gone for good? couple tidbits from this were Weisfessen is over 1,000 years old, which I'm not sure we knew yet. Kurlak, the Antinium, who everyone's body is based off of, I believe, killed the last Lucifen who could remember the Krilla Wars. And finally, Sylvania. Oh, Kurlak is a goblin. Oh my! Of the 100 Days. Oh, that's even better. Kurlak was of the 100 Days was was a goblin already then, and Sylvania is 5,600 years old. Yes, take it away.
So it kind of makes sense that, Rere is called Hell. Hell has an infernal code. It has all these demon people, or so-called labeled demon people. And there were like devils and angels, blah, blah, blah. Now, here's the thing. My theory is we know that the worlds used to be way more, or rather, we can theorize that the worlds used to be way more connected before the portals closed in the Feylands. Ryoka tells us how a lot of the doors were closed, and her door was closed as well, which she sort of like, you know, strong armed herself into the Feylands. But the portal itself was closed. It's possible that there was movement. The, Now, it might go both ways. We don't know which way the migration went, but the migration might be from Earth to involved or involved to Earth. It might, if we try to draw the timelines, it might be that a pre or like a proto-Christian or a proto Judeo-Christian um, Judeo-Christian sort of population migrated here, and this is where a lot of or a proto-Christian Judeo-Christian migration happened from here to Earth, where we get all of this mythology from, and it may be based on the mythology from here and stuff. That's one theory that I had. But the
That's,
point is that it makes. Hmm? Go on.
I was gonna say that's an interesting theory. They these worlds seeded Earth with life rather than the other way around. That's interesting.
Or
Go for it.
rather like, because of the free movement, because we do have like people like Garuda and stuff, which are heavily taken from mythology, like the Garudas, the Nagas, the Kraken, and all of this. This already exists in like Earth mythology. So it is possible that there was free movement between the worlds and many more worlds before this. Uh, that the authors are just not aware of, and this world is not aware of. But it makes sense. The concept of hell being somewhere where existence is a punishment. Um, it makes sense to have it in Reef, right? Like I was wondering why they're in Terrandria and not in Reef when we were introduced to the Agelum and the Lucifer in the first place. Um, so that sort of, already cemented a point that I had in my head. It's why not? But what gives this angle like a really uh, cool twist is the blighted king may the blighted king may be one of like the original descendants, or may know the true mythology and is using it to his advantage. Um, like we have with Cormelex, like they might have mounted an attack, maybe a religious based attack on the Lucifen, and later they were able to sort of, parry with the Agelum as well. And it is possible that the Lucifen feel more empowered, or we saw how, who's that other lady? The other Agelum who went to the Deadlands, and she went all Super Saiyan over there. It's possible that such a transformation happens in real, and the closer they get to the sleeping god who might personify this hell, so to speak, and like the sleepy guy,
That's right.
he, yeah, I think the Lucifen are related to what's like sleeping in real, and their war forms, which are the farther away that they get from Reed is why they're losing their power. Because their domain is Reed.
That's an interesting idea, actually. Their little proximity towards Rear or Sleepy actually is affecting their power at some point. Yeah. Let's see here. Mr. Europe, you had something you'd like to add?
Yeah, we already knew that the Infernal Court ruled Rear. Not necessarily confirmation. All of that was all of it. I'm surprised that I don't remember that Kilvicic said that he he didn't mention Lucifin when he said when he talked about his adventures, which is interesting. But yeah, we have heard multiple times that the Infernal Court was there. I was very surprised that Cormalex, the guy from the who had Aaron's skill, the Lucifin who had Aaron's skill, was the last Archfiend there. Like, that must have really screwed him up, whatever he saw in there. Yeah, that was really cool, but yeah, I can't imagine what he saw in there that made him decide to screw things up that badly. But yeah, I mean, the biggest surprise to me was honestly that that Visofson is so young. That he's less than 1,000 years, I think he said in the chapter, and that like he seemed really like he's always seemed like one of the older immortals, I don't know, to me. And the fact that there's none of them are left that are that old was very surprising to me, honestly. But yeah, the Kurlek really did a number on them. It does not surprise me that they think they are going to die out. Also, Sylvania, I mean, I guess we always knew that she was about somewhere around the 6,000 range, since she's been there from like kind of the start of it.
Yeah, Visor always seems to hold himself with such restraint and maturity. I think it's easy to, it's funny to call 1,000 years old young, but he's a little baby compared to some people who are walking around. And I was I mistook Kurlak with Gulick, I believe. Just a bit of a dyslexia there, and fortunately. But then we have Mr. Rhythm and Blues. I have something to say.
Hello. So I was with this from I think that I was also a little surprised that Visafestin was on the younger end. I mean, yes, you said 1,000 years old is not young by most people's standards, but it's pretty firmly in the third tier of immortals. If you've got Teriarch and Talavirian at the sort of the top, and then Risveri, and then Sylvania in the 6,000 to 12,000 year old range, and then then Visafestin is kind of a youngin. The thing that really struck me though is just how terrifying Goblin Kings are, because Visafestin is Cormalex was nastier than I was. Visafestin gives Risveri a run for his money, and Kurlak killed the Elder Lucifin in his rampage. So that makes me kind of wonder there at the whole power level of Goblin Kings. It's like Velen, the world really got off easy with Velen.
He was the kind,
Yeah, and he and whether it was a mistake, and I also think that kind of lends that cements down the Velen essentially committed suicide by Arksinger, as opposed to, because I don't see anything on Israel actually taking down anything of Kurlak's level, at least not without bringing out the old relics of Regis and all of that nonsense. So that was my takeaway from Kurolek and the Vice Versa thing was thoughts about Goblin Kings.
That's a good point. Kurolek was a beast. Wiggles, you're up.
Jesus, I always get to my turn and I've forgotten what I want to say. Anyways, so first off, yeah, we pretty much knew, Mr. Europe, or was it Rhythm and Bruce has one or the other. We pretty much knew that Rahir was controlled by the Infernal Court for.
I'm sorry,
long
I'm a
time
fake
there.
fan. I didn't remember.
Hey, it's fine. Everyone, I forget things all the time too. It's fine. I'm just saying we knew that, so I wasn't surprised by that. But getting more info on it, always nice. The one thing I will say is as to Cormalax seeing to it that the Lucifin Empire was gone for good. I don't think that was literal. I think that was figurative. Cormalax was so bad. He did such bad things that they were wiped out completely. Everything about them was just wiped out. Cormalax himself wasn't the one who went through and systematically destroyed everything. It was Cormalax being a right asshole that caused it. So, like what happens in Cormalax's garden, someone came and completely destroyed everything that Cormalax had in his garden. Cormalax himself didn't do that. I'm almost certain. So yeah, I think it's more figurative than literal.
Interesting. I didn't think about that. That he was the impetus rather than the agent. That's an interesting point. We have a Bleach Soul typing in the ring. The other comments are just about how I messed up on knowing that the Lucifin were already in rear. Kel, thank you. I just want Ryoka to mention the Lucifin Garden device. That would be interesting. I would really like to see Vice Vessen's reaction to Cormalax's garden. That would be very something interesting. And then Mystical Pie was kind enough to put in the quote that I missed. Thank you. Bleach Soul, is there a reason why the Angelum and Lucifin don't reproduce often when their numbers are dwindling? That may be something to do with what Yash was saying. Maybe they're too far away from their power source, or maybe they're just I don't know. Maybe it's just in decline somehow. I don't know if there's is it a physiological thing or is it a psychological thing? It really wants to really take an hold there. Let's see. Kel, I think this was in response to the Cormalax thing. Aaron pointed out the shortest message yet, written in red like blood, like bitter tears, almost furiously dashed there. Quote, secrets broke me. I gained this, as none of my kind ever have. It was no kindness. Cormalax, the Infernal Court. Interesting. That would make that quote. If Cormalax really was the impetus rather than the agent, that would make that quote even more interesting. Rhythm and Blues, come on down.
All right. So I was saying on the subject of why the reason why the Agilum and the Lucifin don't reproduce, it's pretty common. I mean, we haven't really gone into it, but a couple of things. One, it's really common for just in general in stories for immortal or very long-lived races for it to be very difficult for them to reproduce. And so, like, either super low fertility rates, sometimes having to invest large portions of personal power into it. So if they're to the point of which they're not willing to do a lot. So where it's a great personal sacrifice to reproduce, or it takes a lot of effort, or it's just really hard, and the numbers are really low. So from a sort of from the biological diversity standpoint, they need to have a lot of work and or breeding programs to try to manage the low the low biodiversity count.
It's a good
If that was
point.
a thing. And so so I'm thinking that there's, it hasn't been specifically addressed in this story, but there's a lot of sort of fairly common fantasy themes around immortal races, in addition to just being old and tired, that might make it difficult to kind of repopulate from where they are.
That's a very good point. Let's see. Mr. Pie says, in response to that, in the chapter, especially during Vice President's speech, I got the sense that they've kind of given up and just know that they're the last generation. I kind of got that too, but it may be like there's just not enough of them to actually populate again. If there's only like 50 or 100, how many does it take, to ensure that Lucifen don't have birth defects and come out all hillbilly like, and or Habsburg might be worse. Cosmic Chaos says, if you make more Lucifen, you've got to feed more Lucifen. Them being literally chased out of Valeros, who apparently still remembers them in some capacity, speaks to issues with having too many of their kind around. They have the vampire issues as predator. That is an interesting point. And we did actually see even vampires were among the races noted to have been chasing the Lucifen out. And Vice Fessin was sort of reminiscing on how reminiscing on the pleasure of getting to see the vampires hunted down for a change, or the others taking off. Kale says, with the Angelum in particular, the one who made it to the Deadlands had a huge rush of strength. So it wouldn't be surprising if their health is associated with the dead gods being on the mortal realm. Also, why Kurlak went after them? Their ties to the gods. Ooh. Maybe Kurlak. Ooh. There's been some debate if the goblins have been raging against the gods. Personally, I think that came up the last couple of times. Last couple of streams. But that's an interesting point. And let's see, there was specific mention in this chapter about Kurlak trying to end a species. It's true. Alrighty then. So kind of tangential to this, there is a small question here. Do you think there's anything actionable Sylvania could learn from the Earthers regarding Christianity and the Lucifen? With this, and she seemed to be very keen on the Earthers' reactions when she said the word Lucifen, and I'm just wondering, what exactly would our myths and legends, really give her in regards to like secret information or something, some kind of some kind of silver bullet towards them, or are we hammering iron hooves into their, or entering iron horseshoes into their hooves to drive them away like in those old stories. Let's see, Yash, and then we're gonna get into Wiggles.
I
Yash,
think
please.
because yes. Hi. So I think because most of like the Lucifer history has been erased and quite deliberately so, what the authors can offer is insight into what is possible. Maybe some of the ritualistic aspects of how to deal with the Lucifer in terms of exorcisms and I don't know, holy water.
Good
Like
point.
maybe one of what?
No, that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. The holy water
Like
and the rituals that people have put together to ward off the evil eye or evil like that might be actually
yeah. And what I really want to see is that one dude who's like this one Christian fanatic. Does Sylvania go out to find him? Because he might have some kind of specialized powers against the Lucifer. And do we get to see
the
like
prophet.
yeah,
Ooh, that's interesting.
and do we get to see like a civil war between the Lucifer and the HLM? Not right now they're together because of race, but when it comes to philosophy, what is their individual philosophy? Right? Do we can it might be that when it when the time comes to ally against the scene walkers or ally against the gods, we might see a sort of resurgence where the HLM, given that they derive their powers from God, may choose to stand against uh, humanity, so to speak, or might only stand with those who are devout. They might even start powering, or they might take the side of the prophet. And we see Lucifer here on the back foot. It might get into like a very religious angle. I mean, it's fun, but it's also kind of scary. Fun.
Yeah, it's scary. Just having one angel after you was enough to send Tammy make him piss his pants. That was that would suck. I would I would be very disappointed if the kind angel decided like, yeah, we're gonna side with the bad guys in this one. That would
Yeah, then it all depends on how they choose to find their power domains. We don't know
sure.
that the Lucifer are going to be powerful in the afterlife. They might be because there is no designated heaven and hell. And if the HLM are able to through, break through to other heavens like the Antinium heaven, or clearly Pawn has access to a sort of hell. We don't know where that hell is. It might just be on Reef. And there's some dimensional magic going on here. Uh, it just might be like an aspect of the sleepy god who represents hell. Because the question here is, why is Reer called hell in particular? And I think if we are able to find the etymology of how that came to be, it will answer a lot of questions.
I agree. There could be a lot. There's a lot of answers you could find in the old etymology. I wonder if pirates had considered that back when they had named everything in the earlier ones. For overseas some kind of retcon going on.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
oh,
I
do you have more?
kind of have like a perspective to offer here for this on how Pirate is probably going to write this out. So I recently went to like an arts museum and we were looking at contemporary art and I didn't understand anything. And there was like this description given of what the art is supposed to represent. And my friends and I, we just sort of got the feeling that, okay, so these artists, they made something. They don't know what it represents. So they post hoc added some story to it. It might be what Pirate is also trying to do. Like she created these concepts and she's just, sort of making it up as she goes along in hopes it makes sense and fits into the larger narrative.
Interesting. Yes, that's definitely possible. Wiggles, would you like to chime in?
So, just on the question itself, I'm not exactly sure that Sylvania will get something like weaknesses or anything like that for the Lucifer. Maybe she will from the Earthers. I think more that she'll gain an understanding of how they might operate. How they could have operated in the past. And that kind of information is really important for her because she doesn't know basically anything about them. She maybe knows a little bit, tiny bit. But if she got some insight into how they act from Legends from Earth and all that, she might have somewhere to start. She could start looking for groups of people that have acted like that in the past, and she can connect those groups to who the Lucifen are. So I think it's more just one puzzle piece that could lead to other pieces of the puzzle down the line, rather than straight up she'll get super valuable information from them about who they are today. You know, it's more like looking
that's a
for
really
them
good.
in history.
Like might be able to find someone, someone with no name, Please
Yeah.
allow me to introduce myself. Just all the stories that we've how to identify them. That's a really interesting point, actually. I wonder if going forward, the Lucifen. I didn't really consider Lucifen um, big players ultimately, but this is actually kind of, I don't know, it's sparking my interest. Maybe Lucifen really did have a kind of a bigger to do in the story later on, or some what they have done before, perhaps has a greater impact than we know. Kel said there's likely some kind of hell, given people like Recray didn't go to the Deadlands we saw. Aaron's Deadland was more like a purgatory. That is really interesting point. There is, I think, one of the questions touches a little bit on that later on, but I do see your point. Let's see. Yes, it's true, and we'll say almost like, or almost certain that's what Helst is. Helste? I'm not sure I know that one. Would you like to explain that one, Wiggles?
Back
Helste?
when back when Emmerhane was enabling skills / levels, whatever, magic in the Deadlands, the system notification specifically limited it from Helsty. I'll get you the quote real fast.
Oh no!
But
I remember that now. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, it's basically like the only mention of Helsty in the story. But look at the name, Helsty. What else is Helsty gonna be?
That's a good point.
So yeah,
Wow.
I think Helsty is where Rickree, whatever his stupid name is, where Rickree and the other monsters go. I put the quote in ACD live chat.
Okay, let's see. Scrolling.
And
Okay.
Casignal is the Deadlands.
That's true. That is right. She did claim it as her own. Emmerine, god of magic authority, accepted. Override. Casigna, god of death. Location, Casignal, exception, health day. Reconfiguring. Entropy enabled. Skills enabled. Magic enabled. Gotcha. No, that's a good point. However, there is something that may be a little different. May suggest something different. Maybe not. Yazdil seems to be consorting with ghosts, and he seems to have given them incarnation, meat suits, and he also seems to be regretting this decision a bit. Have we seen Yazdil so uncomfortable before? Do you think we will see the return of Recray or Pisces enslavers with these ghosts? Oh, and one of them seems to have divined that a fourth Deathless is about to return. Anybody got any think about that? All right, Wiggles, take it on.
I think the only time we've seen him like this agitated before is when he was talking about the world changing, basically from the Earthers coming. But also, no, definitely won't see the return of Pisces enslaver with these ghosts, because Rick Reed just wasn't. Or wait, do you mean what's his name?
Well, I just meant that the ones that
Igris.
we didn't see. I was just curious because the ones that we didn't see in the Deadlands, they kind of made a point of saying we didn't see them there, and then maybe aside from the hell, maybe they were just snatched up by Yazdil at that time and given these
Uh,
bodies. I don't know.
I don't know about that, but
It'd be a good
yeah,
opportunity for drama for Pisces to see that monster again with all the. I don't remember that guy's name, but
Rickery or Igris? Which one?
I don't remember which one.
Igris.
The one who
Okay.
had the compound and the
That's
what
Rickery. That's Rickery. And he
the
was the
worst
one
one.
who wasn't in the Deadlands, yeah.
Yeah,
But
so
yeah,
it'd be crazy to see him again. Just for the Pisces drama.
yeah. One
To kill
thing I
him all
will
over again.
mention,
Go for it.
yeah, one thing I will mention about this, I've seen a lot of people say that it was the stupidest decision ever for Rochelle to give these ghosts access to bodies. And I mean, it's a stupid decision for Yazdil, but Yazdil is not the one who did it. And the only reason it's a stupid decision for Yazdil is because he can't control them. And now he has several different people uh, who are on the same level as him, basically, who can fight for control over Rochelle in general. But I don't really understand why it's a stupid decision for the rest of Rochelle. These are high level leaders of Rochelle's past, and it's not like they're going to come in and be like, okay, we're going to destroy all of Rochelle. We're going to, kill everyone. We're going to make it worse for everyone. I don't really know. Like, for Rochelle in general, I think having 4 more people at Yazdil's level is a very good thing for them. For
Yeah, they
Yazdil,
might.
not so much, but for
Yeah,
everyone else, they're happy
it's a net
about it. I
benefit.
can
Yeah,
see.
a net benefit. Yeah, Yazzie is definitely being. It is fun to see him uh, in discomfort. Personally, uh, I mean, not just about Deathless, but just how you know, just how I don't know, out of sorts. Like he's been the swinging cock in the room for quite a while. But it is going to be interesting to see uh, what comes of his side of it, because he was kind of like an unassailable front at some point. I mean, he was like a solid one man, or he was a solitary front. That he didn't have any. There weren't any ways in that we know about into um, that compound of Yasdil. Seemed like so much of a fortress. He was alone and powerful, but with these others who could be just as powerful. They could be a check on his power outwardly, but also a means of, Ryoka or whoever goes in to face him finally to get in. Supply says seems Yazdil went basically having full control over the Rastil to having 4 more people equal in power breathing down his neck. Yeah. Uh, say Halas says a Death of War is Dragonling and is Dragon Lord in hiding. Ooh, that'd be interesting. Cosmic Chaos says the Rochelle ghosts want to put Russell. I'm sorry. The Russell ghosts want to put Russell into an advantageous position. So whether Aaron wins or whether she gets possessed and the dead gods return, Russell will have its place in the power and influence among the victors. Yeah. Yazzie just wants to make a quick money selling weapons. Commercial, Mr. Bond. Thedicron says, I really like this chapter because it shed light on Yazdil's behavior. The reason he put himself out there in front of the Earthers is because he's uncomfortable with his new position, and he wanted to hype himself up, not necessarily because he's overconfident. That's why he operated so differently from his usual MO. That's an interesting point. I mean, yeah, I mean, this would have to have been. I mean, they would have to have been shown up before the Zoom call, right? So that could explain why he was so, I don't know, so blatant and bold and challenging. Like maybe he's he's been feeling a little bit, overlooked recently. It's an interesting take. Yash, thank you for letting me get through those. Please enlighten us with your opinion.
Yeah. So, we were talking about the deaths, right? And like, yeah, the ghosts and all, kind of expected. Like, of course, there are going to be ghosts. If there's Neravia, there are bound to be others, and it'll be interesting how to see how they change the dynamics of uh, skills. I feel like while they may greater is your adversary, the more likely you are to get better skills. And so far, what we've seen is because of the nature of how chill the world, relatively chill the world was, the skill level or the boss level of the adversary was not that high. So we didn't really have people getting higher level skills. And this might be sort of like a catalyst for that. Uh, that's one thing that's going on here. And regarding the deaths, I have two theories. One is like the popular theory right now on the chat that Kurulak was one of the deaths. What seems odd to me, do we know the circumstances under which he died or he was managed? Because it is entirely possible. And it's been, mentioned in chapters before that it's often the goblin lords who are dictating the politics of goblin wars and how things go on. It is entirely possible that they've not killed him. We don't know what the lifespans of goblins are because they've never really died a natural death. Great Act is still alive. So we're not really sure how long goblins live for. So it's possible that the locks, like the keys that the goblins have, it's a key to Kurulak and not Whelan. And Whelan was trying to hide the fact, or Whelan was, again, like once Whelan realized that how stupid people are, it sort of drove him crazy, or the knowledge drove him crazy. And it's possible that Kurulak was not able to be killed, but imprisoned. And the key to how to free him is what the two goblin keys are. That's one theory. The second theory is it's possible that one of the deaths is in Erin's sanctuary. And it's possible that was one of the originators of the skill that they wanted to protect someone or they wanted to, well, not originator. Maybe that's not how the skill came about. Actually, it might be possible because Sheeta is the first one to have the skill, right? And if Sheeta's daughter is one of the deaths, and if another death is from her time period, it is possible that they were trying to provide a sanctuary not just for her people, but a sanctuary the way Erin was when Erin died, the way she was provided sanctuary or the way she was kept safe, her body was kept safe from other people. It's possible that the death is there too. But instead of like a sanctuary, it's really a prison. So there might be systems where they're keeping some presence out. Okay, that's just one theory that's another theory that I have. And
That's a really
yeah,
cool
I think
idea. With Kurlek being the thing that the goblin's keys unlock, and also there might be a deathless in the garden. Those are those are fun. Those are fun ideas. I really like your ideas.
thank you. Yeah, like it's possible. I think it would be interesting. I think it'd be cool to see that. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Or or okay, this is a complete wild card. What if this is like a complete wild card? What if like a personified? What if the system is like, okay, I'm the system, but I also want like I have my cake, but I kind of want to eat it too. So what if the system, why the system is coming alive now is because they have sort of like a simulacrum in the system, which is sort of uh, you know, playing the game by their own rules, and that's the deathless. You never know. That's very meta, but I wouldn't be surprised if pirate goes there,
So like
like
the
a
system's trying to incarnate
personified.
itself. It's
Yeah,
interesting. Ugh. That would be scary. I don't don't know how many more omnipotent people we can handle. We got a few. Let's see. Almighty Nubs says, given the Russell ghost bodies has returned to their classes and levels, I can't remember if it was the reason Escarash gave for not giving Neravia her body, but this does mean Neravia having her full class, etc., is a real possibility. I think she's capable and resourceful enough to give herself a body if she's free from Askarash's surveillance, which could be possible if Az is defeated, or if they're somehow separated during his raid against the Terendian expedition into the new lands. That is an interesting point of view. I do also agree that Neravia is just crafty enough to find a way to get back. She's just too smart. She's Aaron, but with Batman somehow. I mean, she knows just too many little tricks, and I don't think anyone's quite prepared for her. I do wonder if these ghosts. I do wonder if these ghosts that Russell brought back are among her peers, or among her time, or among her. I doubt they were of her power, but I wonder if Neravia is like, oh, Zeron, that guy. Yeah, I killed him, or something like that. I wonder if they have because Neravia would be a good ally to have against Russell, I feel, and it would be neat to see. It would be neat to see an old conflict sparked over again. Oh, Almighty Nubs is typing. Let's see here. Oh, okay, well, that is, we don't have a perfect segue. We can do a little one. And there was a hint of future tension regarding Mercia and Leonette, wanting separate rooms, and Mercia preferring a different storyteller, and Sir Solcest, I believe. Is Mercia growing up too fast for Leonette? This will just be a quick one. If anyone has anything they want to speculate on about this, if not, we can move along to something a little more substantial. Got 3 more big ones. Part-time Duck says the fourth death was Mercia all along. It was Mercia all along. All right. Alrighty then. Death of desserts. Death of desserts. Awesome. Okay. Well, it doesn't seem we have much on this topic. Too many big ones out here. So, we'll move along. A number of people in Inland Davis seem to want to assist Ryoka, or just sneak away to a concert, but have been thwarted. Risky the sock puppet seems to have taken on something of a life of his own. Is this just something Risk's putting on, or is it a real mental break? And Mr. Wiggles, salutations. Have a good one. Nobody? Okay. Well, to be honest, it seems like Risi is really actually taking on a personal life of his own. But perhaps that's not as poignant as the rest of the things we have. All right, we got one about. Okay. Yes, you'd like to speak? Cool.
So, about Riffy. Now, it might be that what we saw with Teria is happening in a very minor form with Riffy, where Teria did it because he's lazy, And there was like physical trauma. Here it might be like emotional trauma, and he's sort of trying to. So it's kind of like developing an MPD, but with a sock puppet.
I
And
didn't even think about that. How it mirrors Terry, but
it does mirror Terry. And if Rishi doesn't like, I don't know, you know what? Terry might just mentor Rishi on how to not mentor Rizveri on how to make Rishi its own thing and how it can get away from him. Can you imagine a sock puppet as a species? What if, like, the sock puppet sort of separates from Rishi, and all the sock puppets now that the people of Island Amos have, they start, sort of specializing, and then they get this, this quest or what things that the lambs, the Sarient lambs have, but because they have the powers of Rishi, they can actually become a species.
that's crazy. Wow.
I know. Yeah.
See, Cosmic Chaos says, if the inn gets around to its much-needed therapy sessions, I hope it's via group therapy and a giant puppet Rizzy shows up. Yes, that is quite silly. All right. Rich lost his mom, his only family. The puppets are a way of coping, and Geneva, the high-level Suffolk doctor, may go to help him after Tom. Says, ah, hellas. Okay. And we have Almighty Nubs still typing. I will get this one ready. We've got only two left, two big ones left. Don't stop. Okay, fine. Let's see here. Okay. Almighty Nub says, I saw a comment in the main Discord which said that Rusi might be the Duke's way of doing things without having to act with the pride of a worm. I imagine he mentally hates doing things against that pride, etc. But the puppet is enough mental gymnastics to avoid that pride influencing his decisions and conversation. That's actually a really interesting idea. He does seem, Rizzy, if we're going to personify him, Rizzy does seem a great deal more agreeable than Reesbury. I mean, he's able to win over the kids, and it's a huge to do in Alan Davis right now. I mean, so much so that I think last chapter one of the captains was lamenting not being able to buy a sock puppet for their kid. Oh, no, you have to get the Windy Girl. And Dark Time Duck says the final showdown will be Rizzy versus Eldavin. That will be funny. How's guys? All right. Let's see here. We'll end on the big one, so here's a little less. We learned a surprising amount about the Bloodfeast Raiders this chapter. We learned that the BFR seemed to want to test Aaron and her power. We learned the name of their leader, Kazaran Keels, who has motivations of his own. Where do you think they plan on attacking to get the most information about Aaron's capabilities? And what do you think about Kazaran Real's plan to exploit the Raiders into securing his own place as a bandit lord and possible bandit king, which, I might add, he seems to imply would be as powerful as a goblin king? That, I have to say, that last bit surprised me. There's just so many people who take the Goblin King for a world level threat, and I wouldn't have thought that a Bandit King would have been much of a thing. But he seems to think it'd be on this guy in particular seems to think it would be on the level. Mystical Pie says, with the mention of a bandit king emerging once there are 12 bandit lords, it made me wonder if there's similar requirements of 12 goblin lords being active for a goblin king to emerge. Huh. That's an interesting idea. How many lords? I don't think we have any lords at the moment, so might be a little way off for a goblin king then. I don't know. Oh yes, you'd like to chime in? What you got?
I have another crazy theory. Now,
Alrighty.
uh, we know that pirates' naming convention is sort of derivative. So I don't know why I'm speaking like this. Geez, I'm just whatever. So it's derivative, right? Now, poison sounds like cows, sounds like very angry people ready to fight for anything. What if he's from Kaz? And Kaz is sort of like in this conspiracy to raise a goblin king. And this is like one of the things that their country is going for. They're trying to raise a goblin king, where they're trying to raise a bandit king to sort of further their own political power. Oh, wouldn't that be cool? Holy crap.
That would be insane.
Yeah,
See,
poison, cars,
I
and
think it might be
poison doesn't
Corazon.
seem, it doesn't seem like a very Israeli name if we are going to stick by naming conventions.
It
Not
is
a
Corazon, unfortunately. Corazon. It was misspelled in the question there. Corazon.
or Khorasan.
Yeah.
Does that feel an Israel name? Israeli name? I don't know.
Possibly. Let's see. SLHS. I can't say that name for the life of me. Says he doesn't know what a Goblin King is, otherwise he wouldn't make that comparison. There's no way a Bandit King could kill a bunch of elders Lucifin by himself. That may be true. He may just be ignorant, It happens. Elias says, I think there's a reasonable chance he thinks a Bandit King is as dangerous as Goblin King because he does not know the full danger of the Goblin King. He knows the one from 20 years ago. He may not know the previous 100 Ulysses one. Yes, indeed. That quite true. But I have to say, I really enjoyed the idea of this one main bandit taking advantage of all the little pissy nobles who are just so mad at their parents that they have to go out and slaughter people. God, I really do hope that Mr. Wiggles was right and they get this kicked in,
Low flakes.
Yeah. I don't know about Sakis. Sakis could stick maybe for a little bit. I don't know if she deserves redemption or if she's that interesting enough to keep around. But for now, I think the Raiders are. I think the Raiders need to be taken down, and I do think it would be a good practice for Norman in particular. Mystical Pie says, also, I don't know what I expected, but the Bloodfleece Raiders being entirely composed of spoiled, out of touch nobles just make them seem kind of lame. I lost a lot of respect for them myself. I mean, we sort of knew that they were kind of like this after we met Salkus and Pelmia's son. I can't think of his name, but yeah. What do you think they'll attack? SLS says maybe they'll attack Estelm. Attacking Liscord would be so stupid, and Selim already got attacked. That is true. Yas, do you have a preferred target for the Blood Feast Raiders this time?
Oh, not Liscor, but the inn for sure. They want to go after high level targets because they want to level fast. At least the the bandit lord guy wants to level, and he wants to level fast. SLM, I do not think SLM has high level enough targets.
Yeah.
Because their last attack was on, what is this? Selam. Selam barely had any high level targets, right? And
True.
I don't think they leveled much from it. So it's about upping the stakes, and the next place that they can realistically attack is the inn. And I think plot-wise it makes sense. And I think if the attack happens on the winter solstice in particular, that'll be
Wow.
interesting, because then we'll get to see how the gods play into the whole attack and how they manipulate people and offer power-ups to certain unsavory characters in the story.
True. I personally think it would be complete suicide to attack the inn. Well, I do think, I mean, obviously that the inn would defend itself. Is that Liscord is right there and it can withstand siege spells. I mean, it can
I think
withstand
that's
any
the point.
bombardment.
I
You
think
think
the
you think they're
bandit
there to be slaughtered?
does not. Yeah, I think he's just here to mount an attack. He
Okay.
doesn't particularly care about the outcome, because it's obvious that he has no attachment to his troops.
Yeah.
What he wants to do is show the fact, or prove to the system, that he can mount an attack and do reasonably well. And all he wants to do is counter level. Like,
Interesting.
uh, yeah.
Almighty Nibs says, counterpoint, they're not entirely composed of nobles. It was mentioned some were pure criminal, but with the nobles, noble classes are more powerful than other classes. So when those noble classes are consolidated with the raider class, it makes them deadlier. That's a good point. And there definitely were some real there were some real OGs in the group who were kind of scoffing at the nobles in the background. S. Alhalas says Liscor has an Antinium hive, which should be discouraging enough, but they also have Zern, Tessa, and Kilb defending Liscor. Saelis' hop away, along with Pelesian army, let alone Liscor has an army and gold rank teams, and their wall spells are shown to be 6th tier. Yeah, I don't know if they're going to attack Liscor. I mean, I think they want to get a rule or a measure of Aaron, but what do you guys think of River Farm? Oh, I should read Dark Times Duck says maybe they'll attack Heckball because they know it's related to Aaron somehow. I would kind of personally love that. Just just Schadenfreude, just everyone thinks they're just sitting around after attacking this thing. It's like, where's she? Where is she? She's supposed to come and defend them. What the hell? And everyone's just sitting by with popcorn, just watching, through Aaron's theater. How many knows? Can Aaron find Bloodfeast Raiders with the theater? I think she has to know their name. And they do have some really powerful obfuscation spells, but that didn't stop her from getting through Nears. And I'd say Nears probably has better obfuscation than a bunch of nobles. Miss Pie, River Farm does sound reasonable, actually. I don't think they attacked that indirectly, but a town in the Inn's Reach. I think so too. Yash says River Farm makes sense. Attacking an Emperor will definitely be a power-up catalyst. That is true. You throw yourself against a class like that, and that's got to be something. I think it's complete suicide to attack the end as they are. Let's see. I think I've read most of these. Yes.
Okay, I have another crack theory. How
Okay.
interested are people in hearing it?
Okay. Go for it.
It might be that they might ally with people who have it in for River Farm. I don't know how much to what extent Belavier has been expelled from River Farm, but she will definitely hold a grudge. And if she is sort of offering aid to the Bloodfeast Raiders in this, again, like just working with a powerful ally is enough to scale your levels or to curve your levels. So they might be looking for powerful allies.
I'd have to say a Bolivier-backed Blood Raiders is a terrifying thought. But I think she's busy underneath the water somewhere, and I'm not sure she'd really want. I don't know. I don't. You don't get the feeling that she cares much. Whiskey is attacked. I think she believes Whiskey will protect herself no matter what. I think she has complete confidence in Whiskey somehow. It's kind of an interesting dynamic. She just believes her daughter is just too good to be taken down. But I don't know. I don't know how her feelings are towards uh, River Farm exactly. I think she hates the Knolls a little more these days. Yeah. Let's see here. I think we're finally going to move on to our last bit of our last question here. Yes. And we have thoughts on what we learned about the Lightning Thief. Is the Lightning Thief the Highlander? Can there be only one? How did you like seeing a level 70 skill? How did you like Vibora? Vibora. Did you think Veton was really this stupid to consider stealing from Kilb? Also, tidbit: the Antinium swords have always been recovered. Questions, thoughts? Yes. Bring it up.
I'm just gonna offer like a pronunciation guide. I think it's like Voira with the B silent.
Okay.
Like Moira, but like Voira. Is that how it's spelled? I didn't remember. But that's how I read it.
Viora. Okay. Try that.
Fiora. Okay. And
How'd you like
I
seeing
don't
time
know.
reversed?
Time. Oh. Hmm.
That was a pretty crazy skill.
It was. It was a very crazy skill. But I don't think she'll be able to use it as effectively given her current level. And she might just like fuck things up.
True.
And I think Vet is gonna die. I am sorry, but that's my prediction that he's gonna die.
I hope not. He's really good at dodging, I mean, like,
He is,
stupidly good at dodging.
but look at this. He's not an important enough character to make it to the end. But he is also, I feel like he's more of like a character growth obstacle for Tessie at this point. We've not really seen much of him. Maybe in this arc we'll expand on him, but whenever I feel like he's just being set up to die. I don't know. Like
I
something's
think that
gonna
would.
happen. He's gonna die.
I'm not sure Mercer could forgive him for doing that. And I don't think, to be honest, I think his first instinct, obviously, Kilb's first instinct is just to slaughter something that attacks him and tries to hurt Hive. But I think he knows that Veton is a guest at the end. I think he might subdue Veton somehow and bring him and perhaps Viora to Aaron for judgment. Which I
But
gotta say, it's really.
I don't think he's gonna die. I don't think he's gonna die at like an ally's hand. I don't think Slip or anyone is gonna be the one to kill him. I think it's gonna be the other competitors for gaining like the full body armor of the Lightning Thief. I think they're gonna be the ones they're gonna catch wind of it, of what is being done, and he's definitely gonna die, in my opinion.
Huh.
I don't think Slave or the Antonium are the ones who are gonna be killing him. I think it will be someone from Voira's side who's gonna be killing him. Some of her enemies who will kill him.
I can see that happening. I think, I think it would cause too big of a rift for Kilb to actually execute somebody who helped save Mersha. I think Mersha's just too important, just to the in family, that any other saviors get a pass off. I mean, even Leonette is letting people stay at the inn for a month. Oh wow, actually that month is over now, isn't it? Now that I think about it, Gotta start making money. Anyways, Mr. Pie says, no shot, Vetten gets Kilb's swords. I know he's a thief by trade, but it seems insane to try and go for Kilb when he's staying with Aaron. I think that's true. I think he should try to talk her out of it, but I don't know. It seemed like he was a little bit on board. Thedcon says, Kilb has suffered enough. Let him keep his damn swords. I'm expecting / hoping for the thief attempt to go horribly wrong. Same. And by the way, wasn't Kilb supposed to be leaving at some point? Like, he quit the watch. You know, I thought he was supposed to be taking off, heading out for his adventure sometime soon. Maybe he's waiting for after the solstice. That's probably right. He knows something's about to go down at the solstice. Well, if anybody has any any final thoughts on this question or on the chapter of the whole? Almighty Nubs says his descendants are competing to earn the inheritance, but the lightning thief didn't seem like the person to care about the family at all. I agree. I see Vetten stealing the inheritance for himself from the competitors as a real possibility, a move that the lightning thief would probably love. I like that idea. That would be really neat to see the Thief of Clouds. He's called the Thief of Clouds or something like that. See Vetten become a lightning thief. And by the way, who's ooh, Thief of Storms. Nice. Thief of Clouds becomes Thief of Storms. It's Thedicron. Do we know who's writing these books? Anybody? Like, they say he's only gotten up to level 60 in the books, but he was level 71 when he died. You know, that's interesting. Dark Time Duck says, if Vetten betrayed the daughter and stole the lightning thief's genitals, would it be a dick move? Yes. If anybody else has something else they'd like to add at the end. Alias, I see you typing. It's fine. Take your time. I gotta say, a level 70 skill was stupidly OP. She reached out, what was it, for a better tomorrow? Or stole a better tomorrow? That's crazy. That's rewriting causality. It's like, no, that didn't happen. This is what happens. Those are the type of skills. That's just crazy. I mean, who do we have who's close to level that's in their 70s? Does Az Crash have a spell that OP? You know, does Bolivier have a spell that could change time? That's a big thing. I mean, Dale Miller, obviously Dale Miller, Dielma. The Great Gentleman Leyland Davis had time powers. Obviously, there's those, but it seems super OP. All right. And finally, we have Alias saying, my assumption is that the books are written by writers / historians with skills on cooldown to pull the facts. So the reason the books are slow to come out is that they're going through the years of history and trying to pull out as many facts as they can. It might not just be one person, but a string of people over the years who have had the right skills and taken over from each other. That's a really interesting take, actually, and especially after what we've learned with Sylvania and her use of historian to learn about the Lucifin and stuff. And yes, you got something left to say?
I know I'm talking a lot this time, but doesn't it seem like Terrantria has like a whole lot of high level time people?
Time.
Like we have that Archmage, and now we have this Veteran person, and from what I don't know, like Terrantria, Rear, humans, human beings are in control of a lot of time stuff.
You know, that kind of makes sense. You know, I mean, they're the most mortal of the races, aren't they? I mean, except from, except from they're not dwarves, they're not elves. They don't. They
Yeah, but
live.
I feel like out of Tarandria itself, there's like a lot of time magic happening. It might be like a thing for the Chronomancer of Rare to look out for in the future. Uh,
Maybe.
I don't know if Pirate wants to do some time stuff with Syria with the cold things. I don't know. I feel like a lot of time stuff is happening in Thailand. I feel like Pirate is building up to something here.
No, I can see that. I can understand. Um, Alias, we'll make you be the last one, and then we'll wrap it up. We've been going for about 2 hours now. Aha. Okay. I just wanted to channel anyhow. Oh my gosh, Savini is the best. She is so badass, and she showed us again in this chapter kidnapping historians, and she got one killed. But we also know she is kind because it was an accident. She didn't mean for them to die. And next time she'll do even better. And I am so glad we saw Sylvania. I was devastated to see Sylvania in this, and knew that Lanu would not be with us. So yes, we will dedicate this podcast to Lanu. We miss you, buddy, and your enthusiasm for all things Sylvania. Are you crazy, crazy cat person? All right. Thank you everybody for coming to the TWI Talks after chapter discussion for Interlude stories. I don't know how to turn off the bot. Uh-oh. Someone tell me how to turn off the bot, please. Auto record off? No. If anyone knows how to turn off the bot, go for it. I forgot to ask. Mr. Wiggles,